Hey y'all, welcome to the Clock Tower. I'm Colton here with Brandon, playing some more decks from the Christmas charity live stream. Brandon is on Darcy's pre-ban JP Love Live Superstar, and I am playing Mushoku Tensei 8 Standby. There was an 8 Standby list that was created for the stream, but it's not on Encore decks anymore. So whoever made it, thank you for making a deck for the stream. We're playing an 8 Standby Mushoku Tensei.
Yes, I got to look at it before the rest of the deck was taken down. So being able to try to recreate the deck as best as possible. It's a pretty standard MTI list, with the exception being it runs the Dead End package in it as well. So,
which I promise you I put to no good use. I already don't play Standby very much. I sure as anything don't play Mushoku Tensei 8 Standby, so I'm sorry in advance for playing the deck wrong. Yeah, so I open a runner. Doesn't matter. Brandon opens a pair of stock bombs.
Oh yeah, no, I tri-field this. I am going to town on this level 0 game. In part because I'm like trying to just get to the end game faster. So because this isn't a English deck, some of you may not have heard this one before. Essentially, the goal of this deck, especially pre-ban, was to get up to level 3, 6 cards in clock, and then close out your opponents, being able to manipulate their deck, however, which way you wanted, to be able to either remove climaxes from their deck completely or to stuff it full of climaxes and just shove climaxes into their clock, which is great fun, by the way.
You would loop a clock encore of some kind as many times as you needed to get to 3-6, and that red level 3 that's in clock right now is the thing that tries to mess with your opponent's compression in a way that's backward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you do that. You do that with the other 3/2 in blue that you can.
Right. Yeah.
It's in waiting room, and the yellow event to kind of work together to try to manipulate the deck of your opponents.
I think this game rather was the second time I've seen this deck, so I vaguely understand how it's supposed to work. Mushoku Tensei, I know exactly how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to hit your standby triggers, and so far I am over 2. That's foreshadowing.
But yeah, so essentially, with these decks, we wanted to as we were putting these ones together, trying to play them off. We thought it would be a fun matchup for these ones, because this was kind of a matchup that existed at one point.
And these were also the only 2 good decks. If we're being honest, the rest of the decks were some kind of meme or some kind of, like, just hodgepodge of all kinds of cards. So these were easily number 1 and number 2 in terms of power. So we decided to put these 2 together so that the game would be interesting. Because no offense to Dog Days, I don't think Dog Days could hang with Superstar.
Clearly, you haven't played Dog Days.
I also definitely handed off all the JP stuff to Brandon because he's the only person who works on this channel that knows anything about JP. I have no idea what any of these cards do. So I'm just over here, messing around with some English cards that I've seen before. Don't mind me.
Well, I actually think, especially with kind of putting this out as a stretch goal, I thought it was a really fun opportunity to kind of see how other people build decks and how other people play decks, especially for decks different from your own, right? Like, each of us have a unique play style that we tend to go to, right? I think most of us, even outside of the decks that we might play currently, kind of thing, like, we might choose a set because of our favorite IP, but we also might choose a set because it's more our play style too.
Yeah. Some of us play good decks and some of us play bad decks. It's okay.
I think it's even more minutia than good and bad. I think it's like more like some people are 8 standby players and can play the standby game a little bit more effectively. where other people prefer slamming Climax and slamming Soul rushing your opponent's deck. Like, I think it's also a style of preference of what you prefer to play that I think is important too.
You're over here like just being nice to everyone, and I'm cracking jokes.
Yeah, pretty much.
I will hold my tongue about standby players. I decided to side because I'm out. By the way, like I could
Mm-hmm.
have gotten rid of the stock bombs, but I decided to not do that because I'm out. And I don't want to just, take 10 to the face. However, because I used the I think it's the Roxy that checks the top and bottom card of the deck, I know that he has a Climax in stock because I saw him trigger, and I know the bottom card of his deck is a CX. So I know he doesn't have CX in hand, which is a hilarious little bit of information for me to have. So I know that there's basically no good way. I mean, okay, I insofar as I know, I don't know what Superstar does, but I'm pretty sure that he's not going to be able to slam a Climax, and it turns out that that is the case. So I'm not going to eat a whole lot of damage here regardless.
Yeah.
But I will eat all of it, whatever it is he swings for.
Right.
But I'm also about to, hit a pretty decent refresh point at level 1. Despite having no card or only a couple of cards in clock, I'm going to hit a decent refresh point, which is, always pretty nice. So Brandon's over here with just a fistful of
All
a
the
million
cards.
cards.
Well, somebody has to.
Right. Well, I mean, I also my hand is now 9, so
Yeah.
I don't have the CX again because obviously they're all in waiting room. I clock draw, which doesn't add anything to my waiting room, and then I'm just gonna trigger these 3 clean. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna hit a standby, but I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna brainstorm out of this because I would rather just hit the 3 clean triggers and keep a semblance of compression. Again, like I'm a 1K1 player trying to figure out how to play a standby deck. So,
I mean, at the same time, though, like, you also knew the first one was going to cancel, so you were kind of, like, forcing me into an interesting refresh. I'm over here also, like, I'm prepared for level 1 or 2, depending on whatever you put me to.
right,
And,
exactly.
no Climax. I'm like, okay, come on, deck. Uh,
Yeah, that's the theme. That's the
yeah,
theme. I don't think either of us drew a climax until
pretty
it
late.
took a while. It took a while.
There's a piece in
I
Superstar
never
that
drew
allows
one.
you to be able to essentially brainstorm. It's top check 3, add 1, and then ditch a card.
Yeah.
It's a spammable, essentially, brainstorm.
Yeah. So as long as you hit, you can potentially dig for your CX, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Hits
Essentially, I
the
need to go get that piece
yeah.
to be able to actually start getting climaxes to hand.
Yep. He hits the clean cut to plus on board, and I'm just sitting here with my 1/1s. Still no climax.
Well, I figure with the level 1 and board, I'm like, if I can, this is a playable I can use with the clean cut. I can actually like keep it for another turn, so I'm not like just throwing away cards.
I mean, you might as well at this point. Like, I mean, what it's
Yeah.
it's not a big thing. Here, I finally hit a standby, but there's nothing really in there other than another copy of the 1/1, and I think I would rather have the brainstormer at this point.
Oh yeah.
So I whiff, which super. Um, Playing standby, I'm not gonna lie, it's so. I haven't played standby since Dow, not like seriously. So to hold standby again and just be like, okay, how does this work again? How am I?
Mm-hmm.
What am I trying to do with this? Like, I prepare to play against standby. Like, I haven't picked up a standby deck to like actually play, not in a competitive sense anyway, in a very long time. So I always feel out of practice whenever I pick up a deck that has 8 standby triggers in it.
That's fair. I again don't draw a climax. I'm at the point where I'm like, maybe I can sneak my way into another decent refresh here. Play the Cheery, try to mill down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could stay
Try
at
to
1/6.
Yep. Yeah, so he does leave 2 in the deck, which gives me an opportunity to potentially snipe a single one to stuff his clock into his waiting room for refresh.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. I'm running a standby deck, which means I have a ton of soul triggers.
I mean, I still have the one climax buried at the bottom of my stock, so I'm also
You
like,
do.
maybe.
Yeah, and I do trigger, so I stick the 2, which, that's neat, but you
Mhm.
do you do
I
get
do
a
get,
better refresh off,
yeah.
and then you double cancel. But I'm still holding board,
Yeah.
which, that's what standby's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to hold board.
Yeah.
So I'm technically playing this right.
And at this point, I can play the spammable down
Yep.
to be
And
able
your
to actually.
combo.
Well, yeah, I
Like
put them
you
down at this point because I'm like, I'm going to win board
yeah.
regardless of whether or not I have the CX. Because as much fun as winning board is,
hmm
I need to actually like move forward here. So I managed to get top deck into the CX.
Top check 3 is
I
it's
just
decent. It's a good effect. It may be I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think the Salvage Brainstormer is still probably like the strongest profile, but Top Check 3 it's not bad.
Mhm.
And then you almost sent that to stock
yeah,
event.
I was definitely
Yeah,
reading the card wrong. I'm like, no, 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 no.
because that also would have like not let your combo go off because you need a full board for the combo.
Well, yeah, if that's even with the card red, yeah, uh, yeah. No, I was just throwing things away at this
This is
point.
what happens when you ask English players to play JP. We look at the cards and go, we literally can't read this. Yeah, but so big brain play here. I was very excited about this. I'm out all 8, but I have 2 of the sylphs in my hand.
Yep, yep.
So I do play the one as a counter and then ditch the other one to turn it into a money counter to prevent the swing for 5 after you trigger the 2 soul.
Oh yeah, no,
Because I know I
it
have
was a good play.
it was a great play. I'll have you know. I was very proud of myself for I've never played this card in my life. I think we talked about it on 5 cards 5 minutes and I went, "Huh, this is interesting. I would never play this card." But here we go, and here it is, saving me and
Right?
keeping me from getting shot to 3. And then I'm going to be able to once again just trigger these last 3. I think that's what I do here is I end up triggering I just swing with the last 3 knowing that they're clean and then hitting
Oh,
another good refresh point with 11 stock.
yeah, which I mean, realistically,
I'm not going to complain about good compression, especially in like a standby deck that doesn't have like a ton of great compression tools, because I don't know how to use the amulet effectively. The amulets have been burning a hole in my hand this whole time because I don't know what I'm supposed to go get because I keep winning board. So like I
yeah.
have enough board for me to not bother searching with the amulet, and I don't use it here because I only have 3 cards to search, and I still don't really know what's in my deck. So, I mean, I know generically what's in Mushoku Tensei, but I don't know numbers and
Well,
ratios and all that. So, like, I know I'm gonna trigger clean, and I'm okay with that. We'll go from there.
you've also been relatively compressed, so like it's not been as big of a thing.
Yeah.
But you like typically when playing with the amulet, you kind of want it. The earlier you can get it into memory, the better. So you can get it to restock your hand full
hmm
later in the game. But your hand's already full.
I
Like,
remember. I remember now. I didn't have another good playable. I had 2 zeros, and I wanted a chance at getting over one of your lanes. So I decided to use the back row cigarettes kind of thing
mhm.
to go get another one, um, just so I can reverse you in the middle at least. Which was that the right play? Who's to say? Certainly not me.
I mean,
But now you're at level 3, so now you get to do. So now you get to make the fun play. Walk us through what Superstar is trying to do once it hits level 3.
so I'd have been a better player. I'd have kept the clock on core. But essentially, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to about 3-6. You're at 2-4, which is for me. I'd rather have a lot closer. But like, you can mess with your opponent's deck and be able to essentially adapt it the way you want. You still have a pretty full deck, um, so I need to I need to shrink that deck a little bit down. Um, you're also relatively compressed, so hitting Icy Tails against you would actually probably get you the rest of the way up to 3. Or at least that's the intent.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna essentially mill me 12 from the bottom of my deck plus whatever you actually swing for. So you're gonna get yourself in a position to actually pull off what you want to do.
And so I've milled it out. I got it in waiting room. Now I just need to actually get it. The clock encore. So I get it, and then um, just another piece to be able to play if I need it.
Yep.
So clock encore, get my pieces up to where I need.
Yep. And for anyone who's like looking at that going, wait a minute, why did he just clock encore himself 5 times? He's playing one over the other. He's playing one, it goes to waiting room, he clocks himself, it returns from waiting room to the slot it was originally on, sending the other one to waiting room, which he then clock encore, so it creates a loop.
Yeah.
There aren't a ton of decks that do that. Fate used to do that with the Shiro encore to get itself to 1. But, yeah. So if you looked at that and wondered what that was, that's what that was.
Yeah.
So first Icy Tail, burn 1 doesn't stick. Second Icy Tail. So yeah, you actually get to go through minimum 18 cards. This is essentially, it mills out 6 in 2 different Icy Tails.
Yeah.
Because
so
you can
12,
do the second ability because you are at 3/6, so you can do it twice.
Yep. But at this point, I'm also out of stock. So
right.
Being able to, at this point, then turn around and say, I know you have probably 1 left in deck, so I'm going to try to see if I can pull it out this way.
Yep, so he uses the event, which top checks 3 of my deck. Any climaxes that are there
We'll go straight to clock.
Shoved into clock. I then have to put those 3 cards back into my deck and do it again. And he never finds the CX. And there was one in there. I wasn't sure if there was one in there. I didn't remember if I had stocked a 3rd climax or not.
Well, you had refreshed with 7, and there were 5 in waiting room, so I assumed you had 1 in hand.
Oh yeah, no, no. I don't think I had a CX in hand. Or
stocked 1. I think it was stocked. I think it was.
Yeah, I didn't have a CX in hand. I don't think the entire game. And then you cancel on 2, and then on 1.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it was so close. I could have actually closed out that game again.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's game 1. We're gonna go right into game 2, which is another game that we played with the decks from the stream. Brandon will be on Goblin Slayer, and I'm playing. What am I playing?
You're playing the slime deck.
That's right. I'm playing 33 Soul Triggers and a Dream. Thank you. I think Spyro 2002. Both of these decks are theirs. So, thank you, Spyro, for submitting these. I think this was actually the matchup that we played on the stream that did not get saved because it did not archive. So,
yes. This was the decks that we had rolled randomly to see which one we would play, and it ended up being these ones.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really exciting to be able to have that as an opportunity to do on the stream.
So now I'm out here, playing essentially a 1K1 deck. So now I'm in my zone, and I'm playing oversizes at 0 too. There are like multiple oversizes because there's this Rimuru that gets the marker, and then there's, I think, Shion, who also sits at 4,000 power at level 0. So I'm feeling really good about myself, knowing that I'm going to be able to win board at 0.
With this deck, it's definitely trying to get the these 2/1 dragons essentially on board with a decent amount of power to be able to kind of actually hold board, win board as early as level 1.
Both of these decks kind of have both of these decks kind of have a Pachin at home kind of thing where they get these level 2s down that you try to make really big.
Mm-hmm.
So I think mine, when I play it down, and it'll happen later in the game, I'll play it down, I'll pay 1, ditch 2 to spawn out 2 more 2/1s, and they give each other an additional 2,000 power each. They all sit at 11, which is decent. It's not Pachin, but it's, 2 1s at 11. Those are not easy to remove, and you got them for cheap, so.
It's no 16-5.
No, it's not 16-5, but it is, it is pretty decent in size. But yeah, so I've got 2 4Ks on board. I think that the 4K with the on your opponent gets Encore 2 profile is halfway decent. Like I don't think it's necessarily good, but it's not bad. I think it maybe deserves a little bit
early
more
it's a
love than it
lot
gets.
better as opposed to later. Um, if you're trying to if you're trying to throw that as an off lane later, it's not as good because then your opponents can just pay 2 to keep their 2 souls on board.
Sure, sure.
But um, especially early, it definitely has an advantage when everything else is about 3-5.
Yeah. And it's also even decent at 1 because if you have any power pump at all or you slam a CX, you can get it up to 5, which is big enough to clear a lot of stuff.
Yeah, especially things that are like bigger on offense, smaller on defense. You can
Which is,
definitely like step over things.
basically the entire meta right now. It's a bunch of level 1 combos that, swing at 7-5 and then sit at 4-5 on defense or something. But because you're still stuck at 0,
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually just going to win these 2 lanes again.
Yeah.
And you double trigger shot, which puts you in a tough spot. I don't know this, but you are completely out.
Yeah. Yeah. 15 cards in deck.
Mm-hmm. And I draw into an extra level 2 climax here. So I want to get rid of it for the sake of the refresh. So I'm about to slam this thing and about to swing into this clean 15 damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to win board with a bunch of zeros again.
As one does. The anniversary relay though is going to be super helpful in the midst of this because I can actually like mill some extra cards out of the way.
Yeah.
Which
defensive mill, it's good.
You're right.
Look at you playing Don Machi with Goblin Slayer.
But I do get hit right to 2.
Yeah. This is not me bragging on my abilities. I still don't know what I'm doing. I don't play slime. I'm just slamming cards that look like they do things that I want them to do.
So I held on to the standby because I wanted to actually stand by something out.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I don't have anything to stand by out.
Well, that's one of the inherent challenges. Like one of the few things that one of standby's, I would say standby's primary weakness is that it does not push damage when it is not winning board. Well, like it has to win board on defense to really push damage, and you can't like just slam a CX to get the extra soul on board.
For me, most of my mill opportunity was happening during the attack phase, either yours or mine.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to being controlled mill from the back row or controlled mill during my turn.
Mm-hmm.
Which this deck, well, it runs standby, isn't necessarily trying to hit standby for standby's sake.
Sure.
It's kind of using standby as the opportunity to be able to try to spam more things to field.
Sure. You did side, by the way. For
the 0, yeah.
Yeah, the archer into the Rimuru there. So I do keep the Rimuru on board. I decide to brainstorm with that one, and then play over it to get my 2/1 dudes on board. And this is where, in a perfect world, you would combo and then do the 2/1, I think. But
yeah, because the perfect world, you bring down the 2/1 at 1, and then you spawn the 2/1s at 2.
Yeah, but it didn't really work out that way. So I end up just doing what would have been the combo, but I realized, wait a minute, hold on, I have to get rid of my CX for that, and I want to keep pushing damage, so I decided to swing in the other lane instead.
Yep, dealt the damage in that lane instead. Didn't change anything there. I was playing the combo in the second lane.
Yep.
Or the climax, rather, the counter.
Yes. Yep, so I end up sticking 9 off the top because, that's how the game works. And then I top check 2 for the combo, and they're both whiffs. So but I don't think I'm gonna eat 14. Like I do think that the Shaman Priest is like a really fun finisher, especially in a deck that runs as many Soul Triggers as this does. So like it's definitely like not impossible, but it's pretty unlikely that I just die here.
I debated doing the heal and spawn that into the to try to spawn it into, but I didn't have the CX, so I couldn't. I had to choose between one or the other. So I get burned too. So I'm pushing it at 2-2.
Oh boy, exciting stuff. Yeah, no, I sacked so hard in this game in so many ways. Like you having 15 clean was that was dumb, and then I canceled like a god, especially after milling 2 climaxes. I'm still out here just canceling damage. Like I'm
No,
not
that's fine.
super compressed. Like I had a good refresh, but I wasn't like super compressed at that point. But I'm just canceling everything.
I really do like the dwarf combo at the top to potentially mill 5 and then burn based off of the number of soul triggers in the deck. Like I think that's a really fun combo. Assuming
Yeah,
you have the stock to be able to try field that. Like
mhm.
it requires a lot of stock, but
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it's also a lot of fun to burn for that. So
even just even just being able to do it twice is um like that's still a lot, especially in a deck that does run as many soul triggers as this does. So no, the dwarf shaman, lizard priest stuff is it's a fun deck.
mhm.
You did a tech of this way back when, and I think you were running the dice
I
event.
was I was running the dice as attention to stock charge. I think. Um, so it was quite fun. It was quite fun deck. Obviously, you got the win on that one. This is the last of them that we're doing from the stream. This has covered most of the decks that were there. Um, we're thankful for everybody that participated with that and was able to provide decks for it. It was a lot of fun to put that together and a lot of fun to play those decks out. But that was the last one of those decks. There is still the Milky Homes Mirror that we promised we were going to do. That we're going to have that out probably in 2 weeks.
Yep, that will be in 2 weeks. So Weiss 102 on Tuesday, followed by
5 cards, 5 minutes as we look at Kaguya.
we'll have another Clock Talk the following Tuesday. Talk about everything that happened at Worlds. Worlds is this weekend. Very excited. And then we will play that Milky Holmes mirror match, the true S plus tier meta mirror that you will need to know going into Springfest because everyone's going to bring Milky Holmes. It will be on every team. So until then, thank you so much for joining us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one.
We'll see you then.